Yeah, if there's usually a lag. It can be as long as a minute.
Sure. Okay. Hit the button now. So, hello everyone, if this is streaming. If not, you're not seeing this anyway. But we're going to check on it. For those of you who are familiar with the channel, I am pretty inept with this crap, so we're going to check to make sure it's streaming first. So
sometimes it's not your fault. The live stream internet gods are not always kind.
Yeah. Okay, now it's showing me that we're live on YouTube right now.
Hey, there is a lag, so...
Yeah, is it up?
Not yet for me. But there are people in chat. I'll try to refresh. Come on.
Yeah, we're having problems getting it up.
Hello, guys. There's people in the chat. Yay. But, yeah, we're not streaming yet.
Oh, wait. It's showing 2 streams here.
Oh, maybe we're in the wrong one.
Yeah, it's showing Brad talks about the... Why is it doing it on that one?
Oh, because that's the one it hijacked to... Oh, to talk. I've had this happen. Oh, yeah. We're allegedly talking about the Milo press conference. That's the one that's working.
I don't know why.
All right.
Okay, well, we have...
We're not talking about that, but you can change the name later.
Yes, we'll do that. And
I'll let the chat and the other stream know.
Oh, thank you. God, I'm going to get more... You're an old man trying to work a VCR comments. Those hurt.
They know what a VCR is?
Yeah, I think.
Nobody tries to work a VCR. It might not let me post in the... No, it won't let me... The chat is actually...
Oh, here, I think I could change the title.
On another stream. Not streamer. Stream. Check the game objective. Main. Oh, good, you're a loud typer, too.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I'm a loud typer. I got a really super quiet keyboard because people are like, he types so loud! All right.
Okay, I think I even changed the title now. So...
Yes, it did change. Huzzah!
Yay!
Yay!
We're figuring... We're figuring stuff out.
Yeah, there we are. Okay, good stuff.
Okay. And let me make sure I have the link. I have the link, and let me tweet it out. Even though you probably have already.
I have not, because Twitter is down for me.
Oh. Okay.
Is it back up now? Back up.
There. Okay, now we can finally talk about this stuff.
Yay! If I put the right link, I think I did. AQ.
Are you seeing the nice little background I made with the whole?
I am very fancy,
isn't it?
Very fancy.
Yeah. It took me an hour.
Nice. Not in OBS, it would.
Well, no, it was. You do that. I did that in GIMP, and then you just bring the image into OBS. OBS is fine. OBS isn't bad at all. It's YouTube that I'm having problems with connecting. So.
Yeah.
Let me.
All right.
Nope.
We are rocking and rolling now.
Okay, so I wanted to talk to you specifically because I thought about you when I was making my video, and I know you spoke with or exchanged words with Ian Miles Chong for his Heat Street article.
Yes.
About the...
was that... Yeah, that was Ian. No,
was it Ian or was it...
No, it was somebody else. I talked to Ian as well. There was a lot going back and forth because I admit I had a very emotional reaction. I was like, what are you doing to Mass Effect? I responded as a gamer, but now I am in my proper feminist cosplay. So, I am wearing the plaid. And sorry, chatter. Momo, if he comes by, I will show Momo. Momo is my cat.
I've seen many pictures of Momo. Your giant panther of a cat.
Yeah, Momo is the shadow broker in my head canon. So, yeah. I mean, I am a big Mass Effect fan, and when those original videos came out, like, part of the problem is just not enough information. There hasn't been enough red meat to long-term fans. And for context, I mean, I not just, played the games through. I read the comics and I read the books, and when I got my tour of BioWare Edmonton back in the day, I walked around going, more Krogans, please. And they were showing me all this Dragon Age stuff. This is before Dragon Age came out. And so I have a real emotional connection to this franchise. And so when those original videos dropped, I'm like, what?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people do. I mean, it's for a lot of people, well, especially before the Mass Effect 3 ending, which we won't get into.
Well, I think that's relevant, though.
Yeah?
I think that's relevant because everything was really great up until that stumble.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, the first Christian Bale Batman movie didn't do so hot because they had to overcome the Schumacher films.
Mm-hmm.
Mass Effect is trying to come back from that whole Mass Effect 3 ending, retake Mass Effect thing, that the fan base is like, we're gonna give you another try, but you better not phone it in.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the game is suffering from trying too hard or them overthinking it or what, but they're just... The thing that's upsetting me more than the bad facial expressions, because quite frankly, I really don't care as much about that if the story is good, but I keep hearing it's boring.
Oh.
And I'm like...
I haven't heard that yet.
Of all the things, the first Mass Effect took a while to get into as well.
Yes.
I mean, I remember the first 10 hours of playing that game was, I don't know about this.
Yeah, right, until you become the Spectre.
Yeah,
it's pretty much...
For me, it was, it's kind of a VATS wheel, but this isn't Fallout. It took me a while to figure out how to use the biotics.
Oh, yeah.
And once I kind of got that down, once I kind of figured out that, no, this feels like it should be a real-time action shooter, but it's not. You gotta hit that button and program your moves. Then I kind of got it. But until that point, I wasn't loving it until about the 10-hour.
Yeah. Well, I made a video similar, of course, people have been talking about whether BioWare is making their characters intentionally ugly. And so I made a video, which I know you haven't seen yet. But in the video, first I show pictures of Jade Rossi, who's a beautiful woman. And then I show pictures of Sarah Ryder, who you can kind of see how she's a little similar to her, but boy, did
she's like been put through a funhouse mirror.
Yes.
There are two types of capture technology that I'm familiar with. One, the camera's on the top of the head, here, looking down. And those are far superior to capturing women's faces than the ones that are down here, like at chin. And to me, it looks like they use that because the nose is distorted and the chin is like she looks like Jughead.
Well, and the cheeks to me look, kind of chipmunk cheeks a bit, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's if you kind of imagine her without makeup, because in all her photo shoots, she's pretty made up.
Yeah.
But, it kind of looks like her, but kind of sort of not quite.
Yeah, you can see that result. One of the things I'm struck at is if you go back to Mass Effect 2, where they did Yvonne Strahovski from Chuck. That she was the model for Miranda. And then in Mass Effect 3, they had Jessica Chobot. And she was the model for, that reporter, whoever was on your ship with you.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Miranda looks a lot like Yvonne Strahovski. Now, they made her brunette at the last minute because the blonde wasn't working. And I was like, well, if they did that, I mean, there was still really bad tearing on the... I mean, I just remember one nostril kept turning white on me in the PC version. BioWare isn't the best at making pretty people.
Right.
They never have been. If you think of the facial animations on the original Dragon Age, those were some weak sauce.
But, well, pretty much all the animations. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's more to it than that. Guns are showing backward, and some of the running animations look like, you know, they either really need to take a crap or they already did. Yeah, there's stuff going on. Again, that looks like the weird body proportion thing where the torsos are elongated and the legs are really squat. Again, it looks to me like bad motion capture tech. Like the camera was positioned in a way that forced a perspective in a bizarre way instead of, you know, doing the proper sticky, you know, ping pong ball type suits.
Yeah.
And I don't know very much about their process that way. I don't believe they own their own mocap studio, which might be part of the problem.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I think in my video, I think if you take a look at Dragon Age Inquisition, I think that with Inquisition and now with Mass Effect Andromeda, their female characters specifically are not the most attractive. And
I thought Vivian in
Vivian
Dragon
I thought
Age
was
Inquisition
good.
was gorgeous.
Vivian was good. But
and there again,
Sarah,
they're capable of doing it. Well, Sarah just... And people will argue me on this, that they really like Sarah. She was made for a player that's not me.
Yeah.
But...
And Cassandra, I thought... you know, she was in Dragon Age 2, and then in Dragon Age 3, they took her, and while in Dragon Age 2 her features were a little bit soft, and in Dragon Age Inquisition, you know, they made her head into a block or a cube.
Well, she had that very angular jaw.
Yeah.
I don't have issues with that on its own. I mean, Cullen looks radically different between games as well.
Yeah.
I think it is because, if we'd just seen Cassandra, a whole cloth imagined in Inquisition, I don't think people would have had the same point of comparison. But she certainly did have heavier eye makeup, for instance, in, you know, that teaser in Dragon Age 2 at the end, where they did sort of the Varric narrator portions. But then again, Morrigan has apparently not aged a day, and she can still fit into her pre-baby clothes and look no different. Like these are these moments where for all their social justice rhetoric, I just wonder what they're doing.
Yeah. My theory is, and this one is in my video, is that I think what they're trying to do now with and they started with Inquisition and now they're doing it with Andromeda, is that they're trying to adhere to the male gaze theory. That they're trying to avoid, you know, having sex objects.
If they're doing that, they're in a deep amount of trouble.
Yeah.
Because it shows that, first of all, they don't understand the theory. Mm-hmm. And all of Mass Effect is informed by male gaze. It's a space opera.
Yes.
You know, it's not just the women in that. It's the shinies and the militaristic cultures and the pew 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 lasers. All those things are put in games to appeal to men.
Yeah.
I am not a subscriber to gaze theory. I think it's outmoded, too limited, and it was referring to media in the 1970s, which purported to be for families. Mm-hmm. But the whole point that Laura Mulvey was making is this broad spectrum entertainment is actually designed with men in mind, not like adult men. And you know, you have to do the white, straight, cisgendered men thing. With them in mind, it wasn't, in fact, inclusive family entertainment. Now we jump over to gaming. We don't have that issue, right? We know that RPG players, when the first Dragon Age came out, they were still 90% male. So there's a big difference between the male gaze and making a game, like, undeniably for a male audience. And I think that's something that people have to understand. When you're designing a game, you have to go to your marketing department to communicate with them, because they have to know where to place your ads. Mm-hmm. You have to say to them, this is who this game is for. Yeah.
Well, I think they're definitely appealing to more women. In the video, I quote there's a market research company called Quantic Foundry who they have a database of, I think it's about 270,000 gamers right now. And so, they ask them, what games do you play? What are your favorite games and all that? And for their Dragon Age Inquisition players, 48% are women, which is, huge. The industry average of games that are similar was, I believe, 26%.
And that's interesting because that's consistent with the research that says that women want to kill things with swords and axes as opposed to guns.
Yeah.
Also,
they have a whole really interesting company. They have a breakdown of the aspects of gaming that men like versus women. And women like more collection type tasks.
Yeah, exploration and collection.
And, of course, narrative. And men like destruction,
See, I think guys like narrative too.
Yeah, well, they both like narrative, but for women, it's much more important.
Yeah, and that's okay. Let's be clear. We're talking female typical response, not all women.
Right. Yeah. We're talking meta.
Yeah, this is difficult when when statistics come out where it's like women like this and men like this. No, that is not what the statistic actually said. It said a majority of women prefer this, and I think that I talked about this before. We need to start thinking in games about and thinking instead of or thinking. Like, the reason people play the crap out of Fallout is not because they necessarily love nuclear weapons. It's you can do pretty much anything you want.
Yes.
In the Elder Scrolls games. You can collect, you can explore, you can go around talking to people, and then there's combat if you want to do that too. I would like the combat to be stronger in those games for my taste. Horizon Zero Dawn is more my speed in that regard, but that's an RPG by the skin of its teeth.
Yeah.
And RPGs are a tough genre.
Yes.
They're too, and I hate even calling it a genre because it's a class of game. Yeah. The genre is, space sci-fi or epic fantasy over on the Dragon Age or Witcher side. And I think that there's a massive difference between classic RPGs and action RPGs. And then there's also a big difference in how much you can impact the world in an action RPG as well. In Mass Effect, there was the assumption going in that your choices would have consequences, right? Your choices would have feedback. And then we got that pick your color ending. And I think that's what made people feel so pissed off. Nobody expects to be able to change your world in Halo.
You're so entitled.
Yeah, gamers are so entitled. Heaven forbid you want a resolution that feels... If that were true, then viewers of Seinfeld are also entitled because they flipped their lids when that finale ended too, right?
Oh, and Sopranos. The Sopranos was really... had a similar thing.
Yeah, it's funny that there's this real stigma on the gamer identity when people have an honest human reaction. They just find a way to go, oh, be grateful we're even making games at all. And that's a terrible attitude to have with your consumers. A movie company has to suck $12 out of a person up here in Canada. It might be less in the US, but a game maker has to pull 80 to 120, and now more and more they're trying to suck more and more money out of individual players. Well, for somebody to drop that much on a product, they have to love it. Because at that point you're like, do I pay my cell phone bill or do I buy a game? Do I buy a new winter coat or do I buy a game? Those are or purchases. People can't have both. They're unlimited incomes. Yeah. And especially if they want full price, people may wait for a Steam sale and then it's pennies on the dollar, right?
Yeah. Well, getting back to the sexuality of the BioWare games, which it's a big part of their games ever since, Baldur's Gate 2 is when they introduced relationships. And that has become... Well, I know for a lot of people that's...
no sex. To be clear, there was no sex in the relationships in Baldur's Gate 2. It was very much a romance.
Well, yeah, there was sex. But it was like, you hit 1, 2, or 3 to agree to sleep with the character, and then it just
but then it fades to black.
Yeah. There's no sex until
implied.
what, Dragon Age Origins, where they had that weird with the underwear scene.
They're all kind of it looked kind of like this, it's like that was the sex
with the underwear on.
Yeah, it was awful. Like Morgan's riding Alistair through her panties. And why are we even seeing that? Why is the word? Why am I watching my significant other boff the wit? From an immersive perspective, it didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It was off. I mean, even I remember in The Witcher 2 where there was that sex scene in like the water with the roses all around. Even it was awkward and it looked better. I was just like,
yeah, that was.
Should I, like, come on, sex in games is a nice idea, but it's not interactive. I think about my reaction to that compared to my reaction to the sex in God of War.
Yeah.
Where you hear it and it's an actual QuickTime event, so you're involved and you're only hearing it and then the cherub statue is rattling, but somehow it's way better. The payoff is way better than that awkward Dragon Age stuff where it's just kind of like, whoa, man, whoa.
So you want some interactivity with your sex.
It's a video game. Anytime the game stops, it's bad.
Yes.
Right? And even that little QuickTime event in God of War, which is kind of a joke. I mean, they were Easter eggs and they were funny. And I stumbled on the first one. In the original game, you like smack down a screen and there's two naked chicks in a hot tub. and I'm like, what is this? and it is the way it's presented that I think made it so different. That I'm like, what's this? And then you go in and they're like, hey, Kratos. And I'm like, what is going on? Must push the button. If you tell a gamer to push a button, they're going to push a button.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you're in it and there's a cherub, or then that scene with, was it Aphrodite? And it's her handmaidens watching.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of getting the sex vicariously through the handmaidens. Far better execution than... And this is my complaint as especially Dragon Age Inquisition. It was way more about sexual proclivities than romance. And I wanted the romance. It's a very different thing. Yeah. Because... there's always one character that runs away at the end in a BioWare game, and you can't be together. But we're getting tropes in the BioWare games, like the gay couples are never gonna go the long haul. They always break them up, one way or another. I thought the way they had Varric tell Hawk's significant other that he wasn't gonna be around anymore was just nonsense. Like, my God. Hawk can't send the letter himself, but they got into a branching narrative hole where he either, spoilers, he either died or not died.
Yeah.
And the game had to kind of do it the same way no matter what. But it really was... The first one, we were invested. Yeah. And then subsequent games, in Mass Effect, you could continue that relationship. But if you romanced Liliana as the Grey Warden, for instance, where the hell is the Warden? She's gone nuts. Like, it didn't work. Yeah. Yep. And it seems like the BioWare developers have a pretty grim idea of love.
Yeah, it's weird how they have handled it. It has... Well, first, also in the video, I showed where they have used... titillation for players, and I showed the example of Dragon Age Origins and the Desire Demon, where you go into, I forget that town that for that kingdom, one guy where you go into the Fade.
Desire Demons are gone. They're gone. They don't use them anymore. And I love the Desire Demons.
Yeah,
I would have cosplayed a Desire Demon if I could figure out how to make it work.
Yeah, you'd need some good glue for that.
Well, the problem is there's no way to make that not naked. Like, if they had even been a little less on the nose, I would have cosplayed that for sure. Because they are. I mean, I wish they'd call them what they were, lust demons.
Yeah.
But in the game, but then they started complaining that what if somebody's not straight, a straight man, or what if a woman, why would they be attracted to this? And you are missing the point of demons, people. and so they remove them from the game.
Yeah.
And to me, all that did was you lost your female demon. Yeah. Your obviously female demon, right? Now, demons don't really have genders. They're not human beings.
Right.
That's just the way they look to most people, because this is what we associate with desire. Mm-hmm. Is that literally a horny woman?
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So I didn't have a problem with that shorthand, because that's what they are. They're symbols. Now, they did establish in the game that that's a desire demon's true form, because they looked through the veil and saw what was going on in the human world.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but desire demons appear differently to different people. So by taking them out, they solved a problem that really wasn't a problem. The problem they solved was, oh God, boobies.
Yeah, but that's how BioWare, I think, is changing. Is they're going from a desire demon where in the very first time you see her in that fade, she runs her hand up to her boob, and she's just as sexual as she can be, and she's basically naked. So they're doing that in Dragon Age Origins, but now they're having naked Dorian. I mean, what's really the difference between having a woman doing the side pet with the boob and having Dorian be bare-ass naked? Oh, I didn't see you there. Allow me to stand naked in front of open doors where there's snow on the mountains outside. Yeah. This is completely logical and realistic depictions of shrinkage. Why would they do that? Because it's okay. No one is going to have a knee-jerk reaction to sexually objectifying the gay male character. Right.
But when it's a female character who, you can't say a desire demon she's hypersexualized, but a desire demon is not objectified because they're in control.
Yeah.
Right? First of all, they are not a person. Second of all, the whole point is that they're controlling the person. So it really doesn't... You could claim that there's an element of all desire demons look alike, but that objectification is not a bad thing inherently. Yeah. It can be used in bad ways. And even Martha Nussbaum herself has said objectification is not always bad. But you have these pop sociologists out here spreading, plaid shirt feminism because their dialogue with themselves when they get out of the shower and they look in the mirror as they're drying off is negative.
Yeah.
They think everyone's the same, and it's just not so. I would like to see more body diversity in less stages of undress in these games. The Witcher does that nicely, right? Yeah. I mean, the prostitute madam is kind of a pepper pot. She's kind of Zuftig. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But she's very sexual. The crones have ropes cutting into their skin, and it's one of them's cutting right into their boob in one places. I'd like to see more of that, because that body positivity is going to help us be more comfortable with ourselves. What do we have now? We have Lena Dunham wearing swimsuits that are 2 sizes too small on Judd Apatow's orders, and we call that feminism.
Yeah.
This is when I turned into the rabbit behind me. Just I won't do the whack because it scares people. But this is what I bang my head against the wall about every single day.
Yeah.
Is that we have one particular view of what women want, and this is what these developers are listening to at their own peril, because it's not working. And I honestly think that this would not have been as much of a problem if the Mass Effect team had been more open with their development earlier on, right? Because CD Projekt, they throw content everywhere.
Yes.
when they're launching their games. They are so open. That's why they distribute on GOG. They're just like, we want people to play our games. Take it, take it, take it, take it. We're not going to treat it like this sacred thing that we hide. You know, they're not putting their game behind lock and key where no one can see. They want people to share it. They want people to see. Mass Effect didn't do that.
Right.
And so the expectations got away from them.
Yes.
They did not effectively set expectations. They could have said 2 bloody years ago that this was going to be the story of siblings, except it's not, except it is. Like, I don't even understand that ludonarrative point. Why do we need 2 siblings? Why can't that just be Ryder, and in some people's game, Ryder is female, and some people's games, Ryder is male? Like, that's just copying Fallout.
Yeah.
You know, oh no, they're siblings. It's like, oh, you know, you mean Bethany and Carver in Dragon Age? Yeah, I've seen that trick before.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't understand what it benefited. And because they don't go out and talk to enthusiast media, I can't tell my viewers what they intended with that decision.
Yeah.
And that's totally on them. That is their fault. That's EA's marketing in a nutshell. They want to force everybody to sign up to Origin to play previews.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just not the way internet distributed content works. Internet distributed content should be everywhere.
Yeah, one of the things I've talked about quite often is that there's a big problem with game journalism in that there is a wall, a great wall up, and you would not be able to get any kind of a decent comment from any of the developers on any of this stuff from BioWare. You have to go through EA PR and then BioWare PR.
And then it's 2 questions.
Yeah, and
by email. You can't even get a facial expression.
Yeah, and you're not. It's not going to be quick, of course, and they're not going to answer anything controversial with anything at all meaty. You know what I call meaty.
And that is not the developer's fault.
Right.
I have been told that developers, if they screw up too badly with the press, they can lose their job. It's rare. Getting in trouble is less rare, but they can, because marketing has this plan, and marketing decides we're going to release this now and this now and this now and this now, and you would think that a game developer, it's their risk, right? Like it's their gap financing. They should be able to go, no, we're talking about this now, and have the marketer go, all right, you're the boss. But that's not the way
that would be nice.
Works.
Yeah, they have it so gated that they control all the information that comes out. So no matter, there's hardly a need for game journalists, really, because, you know, if Kotaku or Polygon or whatever, IGN, if they get an exclusive, that's because EA or whatever says, you know what, we want to go to these people and give them something. But they could just as easily make their own website and publish their own information, you know.
And that's what they're doing.
Yeah,
they're going directly, but there's no analysis there. I mean, the closest thing, I think games journalism is actually very much needed.
Yes. The
problem is we don't really have it. We have journalism in the equivalent that, you know, like a fashion magazine is journalism.
Yeah.
You know, like Hello Magazine or Us, or it's like, oh, let's look at the beautiful house of they're puff pieces.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And the actual investigative stuff is not actually the stuff people care about. It's blowing the launch of a leak. It's not sitting down and talking to a developer and saying, these are the concerns of your fans.
Yeah.
And it is my job to hold you to account to address these.
Yes.
That isn't happening. And that is bad for the industry. That is needed.
Yes.
The problem is that, like with political news, for instance, there's a basic understanding that it's a public's right to know. These are people who taxpayers pay their salaries. There is a press corps. There is an expectation of access.
Mm-hmm.
In video games, your access is 100% at the whim of the company, and they can yank it at any time without notice. They just stop responding to you. It's happened to me. I have no idea why. probably nothing personal.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, in my experience, EA is the absolute worst of the worst in that regard. I came to them as a fan going, I want to include you in this very positive piece about, it was the one I got the Kunkel shortlist for, about empathy gaming and how games are doing good things.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to Peter Moore via Twitter, and he thought it was great, and it went to the PR person, you got 2 questions. Well, 2 questions would not fill the need, so I went to Ubisoft, and they were great, and they gave me 25 minutes on a phone call, and it was a great piece. So Assassin's Creed got the feel-good article section head in the National Post, and EA didn't. And this is a big issue with games like Mass Effect, that these are IPs that have become bigger than the company that makes it.
Yeah.
These IPs that inspire people so much, to an extent, belong to the people. And if you want your game to continue to have that love, you have to recognize that this got big. You know, Halo got real big. And Destiny eventually, sorry, not Destiny, Bungie eventually went, well, Halo's bigger than us right now. We're going to go off and make Destiny. And they had another massive hit because they respect their fan base. And it's funny that the developers care very much, the ones I've talked to. They're defensive, as I'm sure you can understand, but they care.
Yeah, I feel bad for the Mass Effect people right now, because they, you know, they are getting piled on pretty good with all these, you know, these animated GIFs. It does have to be hard. I was saying I feel bad for Jade Rossi too, because, you know, I don't care how beautiful of a woman you are, or man, you're going to be self-conscious a little bit, even the model. I mean, I've known a couple models in my life, actually, and they're as insecure or more insecure than your average person. And so now she's going around saying, oh my God, do I look like this? And, you know,
and without makeup, she probably does.
You know, she's probably got a boyfriend saying, no, they screwed up. But then she's, well, they actually laser scanned my face. So how can they have screwed up? You know?
Yeah, but have you done that laser scanning thing?
No one would laser scan this face. You know, that's a waste of a laser.
They had a booth.
Yeah.
That you could go in and like stick your face in it, and they do a scan of your face, and 9 people out of 10 came out absolutely hideous because they're getting your face with no contour. You know, it wipes out all your eye makeup, all those little things we do to make it look better. You know, the hairline isn't there. It's just like, oh, your face is on this egg potato. And it's horrendous. Yeah. Like, I did it. I'm like, I'm not showing this to anybody anywhere. And I think I eventually put it up as a joke. Like, ha, 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 this is awful. But, yeah, they go back in, and they should be cleaning it up.
Yeah.
And it was a conscious choice to take that basic framework that I still maintain is odd here, like the perspective is forced.
Yeah.
But they didn't put the eye makeup she normally wears. They put this weird darkening on her skin in places. I used to joke with BioWare as it's guys doing makeup. Because, oh man, some of on the original Dragon Age, if you actually look, if you've done any makeup and you look at Morgan's eye makeup, it's like, those are actual mistakes. They're coming way in here and way out here. And it's like, oh, could you just get a makeup artist to come in and show you how to do that, please? Like, but it's the same mistake. There really does seem to be a fear where women are concerned at that company.
Yeah. Well, my question is, how does a company like BioWare make that mistake? And you really have to blame, because this has to be a decision from the top, from whoever. I don't know who's doing it. It's not Casey Hudson anymore, I don't think.
No, my understanding is there is no top. there's this committee that's making some of these decisions, and so if 4 people on board and 2 aren't, that's a number I just pulled out of my ass. I'm not saying it's 6 people, but it's consensus decisions, and you probably know as well as I do, creativity by consensus.
No, does not work.
Yikes. Yeah. Right? And gaming is a very collaborative medium. Mm-hmm. It is. But what normally happens is you put together what you think you're going to work, and then you have people play test it.
Yeah.
And then you get feedback from the players, and you refine and you refine and you refine. And a lot of characters don't end up looking anything like they started out as. That's why you keep your game under wraps for 3 years before you present. You basically got it down. But leaks are so pervasive now that companies sometimes try to race those to market.
Yeah.
And I think that there's been so much hype. We had that one movie of, yes, we're working on it, and all those guys drawing at tablets, and then it's coming, and then that trailer dropped with that, I don't know what that was, with the mud under her eyes and the weird 5 o'clock shadow, and everybody went.
Yeah.
And the fact that there has been, in the last 2 trailers, it's been male writer. It's like they've kept that completely hidden. And that is just adding to the unease people have. And then they should have, after that, they should have retooled their press rollout and splattered review copies everywhere just to get some positives they could quote. But they didn't. They left it in the hands of the major outlets that are going to get clicks for beating the crap out of it.
Yeah. I actually have a quote from one of the designers from 2014. He went onto a forum, so I don't know what this is. This must have been this must have been about Inquisition or something. He said, for those who are interested, this is Matt Rhodes. For those who are interested, we have been calculated when it comes to engineering our characters' imperfections. The development process has a built-in erosion mechanism. Many stakeholders in many review meetings tend to trim away a character's humanizing flaws and oddities, leaving little more than pretty and safe. Strip and shave most game characters today, and you'd be hard-pressed to tell most of them apart. We've worked very hard on Inquisition to safeguard our characters from this erosion process. We want to give them more identity than just their clothes, hairstyle, and makeup.
But Morgan is wearing the exact same thing she wore in the first game.
Yeah, but they can't really, once they have her in the first game, and of course she's pretty much the iconic character. You can't
but if you look at... If you look at the teaser trailer they did for Inquisition, they made her older.
Oh,
she has lines under her eyes, and she's wearing that ball gown. She's not wearing the... And I was like, oh, cool. They made Morgan older. Because it would have been cool to see her kind of pass the torch. Like, okay, Morgan's a mom now. She's not who she was when she was a 19-year-old girl experimenting with her sexuality. That's cool. I'm okay if you give me another Turbo Slut character and you evolve her the same way they did with Shandi in Saints Row, and it was phenomenal content.
Yeah.
Shandi went from the party girl smoking drugs out of a broken light bulb to a CEO who worries about her image and managing businesses and everything like that. That is... This is not a informed perspective. The fact that they're treating it as a flaw, that they're treating individual appearances as flaws, whereas over Ubisoft, they call it tangible details. So they want their characters to look unique. So they'll put forehead wrinkles on Anna Grimm's daughter, right? They'll give marks on the skin to other characters, but they're coming at it as this is a character who is uniquely beautiful, as opposed to this is a character that's flawed. And that is a fundamental philosophical problem in BioWare's design process right now.
And that's, when you think about it, they have that problem. They have a problem with their philosophy of how they're making women, but then they're also having the technical problem with. It seems like they're failing on, pretty much every possible way here with their character design.
I don't think they intended to make a character look like they soiled their spacesuit.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's even the Asari don't look so great in this game.
Yeah.
And I mean, Asari aren't even human. We sort of accept that, but it looked like they got some bad mocap and then they rushed it. And yeah, if that's what they were saying, that they're leaving the rough edges. I mean, I'm assuming on Inquisition they meant like the scar on Cassandra's cheek.
Yeah. Well, I think when you see a lot of women, a lot of the popular women, they'll have a little flaw. The big actresses that are beautiful, they'll have a little flaw here or there, which kind of makes them stand out from generic model. You all know
deviation from the platonic ideal. Yeah. But I mean, okay, take Kratos for instance, right? Yeah. He's got scars all over him.
Yeah.
He's got one. Is that a flaw? No, it's a symbol of badassery.
Yeah. So
if we are supposed to accept that Cassandra in Dragon Age is the party badass, then, okay, she's got a scar here. That says badass. That isn't a flaw. That makes her awesome.
Yeah.
Like, why are they calling it a flaw? And still, for flaws, all those women sitting there at computer terminals the whole time, they don't get up and move once. They're all so skinny, there's nothing to them under the spacesuits. And multiple people have commented on there would be a lot more bulk on those plate-based spacesuits than they appear to be in game. Like, they're rendered like they're airbrushed on.
Yeah. What's your opinion on boob armor? They had it in Mass Effect 3. That's one of the things I talked about in the video, that BioWare used to have it. Well, at least not plate in Dragon Age. They had the leather armor, they had the leather bikinis in Dragon Age Origins. And then in Dragon Age 2, they had a bit less of that, but they still had some revealing armor. Isabella, of course. That was quite an outfit.
But she's a rogue character.
Yeah, I thought she was a great character.
I thought she was too. I think she's what's missing.
Yeah.
Because she's not... I mean, the joke about her is, why is she wearing a skirt on a boat? That's kind of improbable. And it became kind of a fan joke. But again, you looked right at her and you knew this is not a tank character. She's not going to be able to take a ton of damage. She's the one that takes those double blades and goes in for the kill real quick.
Yeah.
Done. She needs to be able to move. So the question in these RPG settings is, what is this armor doing? Right? I always talk about the fact that I'm not going to complain about anybody's outfit in The Witcher except for Vess. Because all the sorceresses... their shield, their armor is magic.
Yeah.
Right? Their clothes can stay up by magic. They established that the sorceresses use glamours to make themselves look improbably beautiful. Thus, I do have an issue with the fact that her armor is an armor. It wouldn't stop an arrow. So we don't know what these suits in Mass Effect are designed to do yet. Right? Does it make sense? We don't know. I assumed it was going to be another military character, because they're essentially an advanced squad, right? They're the ones that are going in there and finding a new homeland so they can wake everybody up.
Yeah.
And it's the sort of thing where if those suits are supposed to hug to the body, if they're supposed to be airtight, so atmosphere can't get in, and they bend and stretch, well, then I'd expect to see breast contour.
Yeah.
If they're actually armor that prevents physical damage, then no. But I don't know, so I can't judge yet, To me, as long as whatever fits the aesthetic, then go, you have the old, like, the red Sonja, where she's wearing the bikini. Yeah, I mean...
that fits in her world, I think. But, of course, that's a whole different thing from Mass Effect, and I don't think you're going to see anything like that anymore. I mean, as I was saying, in Origins, they had They had it in Dragon Age 2. They had this kind of sexy armor, and then in Dragon Age Inquisition, they actually had Iron Bull. One of his conversation pieces with Cassandra was, "Hey, your armor doesn't have the breast banged out of them. You're not wearing breast armor. That's stupid stuff." So you can kind of see their BioWare's progression going away from trying to allure male players or I guess female players too. That's one of the mistakes I made in the video, is talking about how the attractive women in games appeals to men, but it appeals to women as well. I think
this was my point on Mass Effect, where there was this whole rhetoric of we want the games to be more reflective of the people who play them, or it's all about flaws. And if both the male and the female writers were similarly not physically high status, fine. But the guy looks like he just walked out of a boy band, and she looks like she walked out of a coal mine. What was there? Car exhaust in that library she just came out of. There isn't a similar treatment, and I think it's a real indication of, to me, it telegraphs an opinion of women in general. That, like I said again, they're not celebrating diverse types of beauty. They're not sending the message to women that we think women of all shapes, sizes, and colors are beautiful. The game is suffering from low female self-esteem. That's what we have to stop women. We have to stop women from focusing on our flaws. You have the choice. I have a scar from an appendectomy. I can choose to consider that a flaw, which is what BioWare is now telling me I should think, or I can consider that a symbol of badassery, which is what God of War is telling me to think. Well, what game am I going to have a greater emotional connection to? The game that tells me I'm a badass.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yep.
Women don't want to be told, "Oh, you're beautiful just the way you are, but you're kind of really ugly." And that's the message it's sending. I'm like, screw that. I may reject certain modern normative elements of beauty, but that doesn't mean I consider myself ugly. The whole choice to wear glasses in my YouTube video, with yellow lenses, no less. I did that deliberately. I wasn't going to put on contacts every time I did it. And I have these glasses because of eye strain, because I play a ton of games. And to me, this is a symbol of gamer badassery. It is not, the four-eyed girl. Well,
for my glasses, I need the lighting up front because it hides my eyes with my glasses.
It is a lighting nightmare. LDs hate it. When I wear glasses, they want me to take them off all the time. And it's like, all right, fine, I'll do that for that role. But for this, it's like, no, gamers wear glasses. Gamers don't sit there playing. And I mean, then somebody points me to Kinsey in Saints Row, which is a similar thing. And I'm like, yes, see? like Saints, Volition knows what's good, and these are the things that, I'm wearing ironic plaid right now. I'm aware, but
ironic plaid.
Ironic plaid, but it is ironic, and I wore it. Yeah, hashtag ironic plaid. But I wore it to feel good. I wore it to put myself in a fun mindset, knowing what we were going to talk about. It wasn't, I'm going to cover up and be modest, because if I'm still wearing stealth cleavage in this shirt, it's still happening. I'm still me, guys. I haven't gone all the way to the dwarf side. But I'm dressing to feel good. I'm not dressing to blend into the background. Like, screw that. That's that modesty crap I can't stand. I don't know if we can swear on this stream, but
you can swear.
I'm getting very close. Okay, I'm going to start swearing soon.
So, are you okay with a sexy female protagonist who wears, revealing clothing?
Depends on what it is. Heroism is inherently sexy, Brad.
Right.
I mean, let's be clear. The heroic tradition was not about regular men and women. It was these 9-foot giants who picked up trees with their bare hands. These are superhuman people. And take Soul Calibur, for instance, the game series, right? Talim is dressed appropriately to Talim. Sungmina is dressed appropriate to Sungmina. Ivy Valentine is dressed appropriate to Ivy Valentine. I want Tacky to put on a bra because that squid boob doesn't make sense to me. That's where I come at it.
Sure.
Right? Sure. If it makes sense within the character, and Ivy with her backstory, or Isabella as people want me to call her, but that confuses people. But her dominatrix outfit makes absolute sense with her backstory. Yeah. Soul Calibur, the costume points, what's her name? Tira, the little like Sarah in a good game character with the pixie hair and the giant Xeno weapon. She's very dull, like she's like an evil Harlequin, but she's got the Soul Edge gauntlet. Yep. And Ivy has similar, but it's not organic, it's metallic, because the whole thing with her is she's come from very low. She's got kind of a tragic backstory, but you know, her tagline is "This sword is my destiny." She's a character whose own sword that she made herself saves her from the evil pull of the evil sword that she decided to destroy because it screwed up her family. And she thinks she's lost. You know, she thinks she is just a lost cause, that she is evil in her soul. And there's that beautiful moment at her ending in Soul 3 where, you know, the stuff is, it comes up to her neck and then her little snake sword goes bling and it all goes away. And her costume speaks to the fact that she doesn't think she has a lot inside of value, but then the product of her own two hands saves her and lets her know, oh gee, you do have something to offer. And when you take her appearance, because we're supposed to assume certain things about her, you know, and it's not that she's a maker that makes freaking cool weapons. We're supposed to think, oh, her body is all there is to her. When you put it in the story, it's beautiful. Yeah. You know, Talim being a teeny little thing who doesn't cause a lot of damage in her attacks, but she wants to save her village. That's a very beautiful story, too. There's a huge amount of romance in that game and the motivations. The fact that, I always confuse them, the two Greek girls, Cassandra and, you know, one of them's a mom, or both of them's a mom, and there's actually sort of the multi-generational family story in that game. These are the stories of heroism, the motivations to, you know, punch buttons on a controller and beat people up. These are the things that drive gamers to beat people up in that game, as opposed to another game that does something very similar but may just not click for you. And it's a way of shortening the learning curve to how this character plays. And Ivy is a difficult character to play in game. People who main her combos are complex.
Yeah, and I'm bad with all those fighting games.
Yeah, but you would expect that in a character like that. Like, there's so much more than just the image. And, you know, traditional feminist analysis just goes, picture. And it's like, you can't reduce a piece of interactive entertainment into a still image. What are you on? and then you look at Lara Croft. I'm gonna save some of this because of the series I'm working on, but Lara Croft has changed into what the intents were for that character. Everybody gets on her body dimensions in games where she was fighting statues that came to life and tried to kill her. You know, it's funny where we draw the line at realism. We have this issue in gaming where realism and rationalism clash with romanticism in different combinations, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. But when you're actually breaking this down from an intellectual perspective, who's to say that, you know, a woman with a waist you can put your hands around and cone boobs is more bad unrealism than magical statues that come to life and try to kill her. You know, it's interesting what baggage we bring to the game as gamers.
That's true.
And that's an important thing to explore, because when you look at guys' relationship with games, I hear a lot of guys, I don't want to play myself. I don't want to play a fat nerd.
That's what I don't want to play this.
And I'm like, but that'd be kind of cool to have a character whose sort of limitation is they couldn't run very far without needing an asthma inhaler. That would be a fun dynamic to play. And maybe over the game they slim down or whatever. But if you wanted to make a game with limited sprint resources, that would be the way to do it. But they want to step out of that shell, and they want to be able to escape into the avatar of a more traditionally masculine hero. And since these guys have been doing this for decades and have been totally fine with it, they don't understand why women are saying, well, I want to be represented. Because they're going, we're not represented.
Yeah.
And that's, the truth is it's not entirely true. There are games like Alan Wake and Heavy Rain and games like that have less athletic male protagonists. That is not always so. We just have a lot more male characters in general.
Yeah.
So it's easier to pull examples. There aren't that many fat princesses.
No.
And people make the completely accurate case that usually fat people in games are some kind of monster.
Mm.
And it's very true. You notice the one character they didn't take the boobs off of in Dragon Age Inquisition? The brood mothers.
Yes.
So it's okay to show boobs when they're ugly.
Yeah.
And one could claim that is a very misogynistic approach. That word is charged. Yeah. But since BioWare's own community throws it around so much, why are we only allowed to see boobs when we're supposed to go, oh no, look away, shield your eyes? I mean, The Witcher has old lady boobs, young lady boobs, in between lady boobs, fat lady boobs, thin lady boobs. There are so many boobs in The Witcher that there is a diversity of boobage. They need to work on the colors, but they got the shapes and sizes down real well. And I would like to see that more than this hide it away, because if you actually study historical patriarchy, the physical hiding away of women was part of that. Mm-hmm. I'm talking going back to Elizabethan England and things like that, pre-industrial revolution, when women couldn't own land, women couldn't keep their own money, women couldn't vote. I'm talking about the deep, dark past, where there are legitimate, undeniable issues of patriarchy. There were no women's bathrooms for public buildings because they weren't really needed. Women didn't go out in public.
Yeah.
And so the desire to hide women away because these are men's spaces is directly tied to our lack of participation in public, in the arts, in academia. And so the only way to get female participation up is to get female participation up. We should be less worried about getting the politically correct depiction of a woman. We should be more interested in getting women there at all.
Yes.
And being able to line them up at the end of the day, soul caliber size, and look, there's a size chart, and it goes from small to tall and small boob to big boobed. But we have this element of gaming that only looks at the big boob characters and go, no, your game is sexist. Well, look at all the others. I mean, Talim is, what is she, Nepalese. She's from Nepalese. Oh dear, Nepalese, Nepal. She's from Nepal. Yeah, I mean, that's a Japanese thing. So they put, they make their character with the geisha parasol blonde. It's Japanese games work on a paradigm of displacement rather than reflection of reality, so they function on a completely different thing. But there's a huge amount of diversity in those games. Fighting games have a ton of diversity in them, and I don't think they really get the credit that way, because there's this weird, and where it comes from is using sexism for short-term goals in feminist movements all the way back to the first wave, when the suffragettes were being imprisoned they'd go on hunger strikes. And they didn't want women getting sick and withering away in prison. It was bad PR, so they'd let them out and they'd go back to bombing things, right? Well, then the governments were like, oh, well, we can't do this. They're using this for nefarious purposes, so they implemented force feeding. So the suffragettes started doing these bedside with the covers pulled up to their necks, talking about their horrible ordeal, being force-fed in prison, and there's these ghastly images of the tubes being shoved down women's throats, but it was all preying on the fact that the public was deeply uncomfortable seeing women in these roles in a way that men weren't. So it was actually playing on sexist tendencies for short-term gains. Mm-hmm. And as we get closer and closer to equality, that becomes a major Achilles heel of both the feminist political movement and feminist analysis, is we are not collectively re-examining the sexism that infected the analysis and practice. In some ways we have. That's why gaze theory has been replaced in a lot of places by the idea of gender performance theory. That gender is a series of gestures and displays, as opposed to, oh, it's the camera looking at you. Because let's face it, that doesn't work as well when the player is controlling the camera. Right? When it's not fixed. There are still arguments to be made that the settings are selected to appeal to men and the characters are selected because it's predominantly male audience. And then we have to ask the question, in this fragmented world, is that bad? And it's only bad if there isn't the other kind of content, right? Now, I don't want to see gaming fragmented into, oh, here's games for guys where we treat women like the other and the enemy, and here's games for women where we treat men like the other and the enemy. I think it's a good way to learn a lot about each other in conversations that we may be too intimidated to have. And that's why I like coming on these streams and talking to gamers and kind of sharing my perspective, because yes, I am a different gender, but what we have in common is we both really, really fucking love video games. And we have that in common, you know? And I think that because of that, because we both identify as gamers, because we both, you know, I accept the gamer identity and the philosophies that come with that, we're going to have more in common than, you know, we're going to disagree on. And I think that's a very important starting point.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think for most gamers, the vast majority of gamers out there, they want strong, powerful, well-represented, diverse, badass characters, you know? So I think, you know, we'll start wrapping things up. But to me, I think BioWare's main problem from the start is the politicization of their characters.
I think it goes deeper than that. I think they've got structural corporate issues.
Yes, that
lead to that chasing their own tail.
Yeah.
In that regard, I think that if they didn't have those corporate issues, and they run pretty deep, you know, studios and right to work states, being this corporate, you know, juggernaut, this massive U.S. company, publicly traded on the stock exchange, the fact that they are a very quarter-to-quarter company, they have to show those steady profits instead of letting a game gestate until it's ready. All these things, I think, are at the core of what you're identifying, where in the Mass Effect games, with the backlash to the gay character, they took a strong stance on LGBTQ positive, screw you if you don't like it. They got a lot of positive press for it, and they started believing their own hype in that regard, because it was the one thing that the corporate machine that is EA could agree with on that brand. Yes. And so because everything else they can't get consensus on, that becomes the thing that they're swirling around, and that doesn't necessarily make for a good story, unless you're going to tell a story about a gay Krogan, which, oh man, you better be a good fighter if you're a gay Krogan.
I think they have a gay Krogan in Andromeda.
See, he's got to be the main character for me, I really, and then, you sort of question, well, if only 1 in 1,000 live births are viable, would the Krogans have a problem with gay people? Possibly not.
That's a good question, yeah.
They might actually have a problem with gay women more than gay men, and they might actually think, well, you can love whoever you want as long as you're willing to have sex for the purpose of reproduction, because they're all high-status males made.
Yeah. Right?
So it might actually be beneficial to Krogans to have lower status males kind of gay it up among each other. There's less competition. This is what good sci-fi questions.
Yes.
Right? The Asari, there's no such thing as gay.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
and they're all hot women who aren't really women.
Yeah, they're kind of, it's so funny that these women who have like no hair and they have like these tadpole butts on the back of their heads are still considered hot.
Yeah.
In this world, but furries are a problem. I don't quite understand that.
No, you brought furries into it.
I love furries. I can't help it. They're so cute. But, you have to ask these questions. If you actually take the emotion out of it and start looking at it and start actually looking at it from a world building perspective, I mean, the Turians might have more problems with gay people. The Solarians are a vaguely asexual race to begin with. So, I think we've learned enough about the humans.
Yeah. Well, of course,
in Mass Effect.
What's that character that where they say their emotion first?
The Elcor.
Elcor,
yes. I love. Now again, that is a tactic borrowed from a character in the Old Republic.
Yes,
it's not
HK
new, even within BioWare, but well applied.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's fertile ground in that franchise that instead of exploring the stuff that didn't get enough attention in the first game and kind of filling in those gaps, instead it's just like, we're going to tell the same damn story but rename the Space Marine.
Yes.
And, oh look, we can do stubble now. Who gives a shit? I don't want to play the exact same thing. Okay, you're creating the world instead of saving the world, but still, what is the basic, reason for that greyhound to chase the rabbit? It's, we have the lives of 40,000 innocents and we're the only ones that can save them. It's the same basic conceit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have a fundamental issue with that. It's like, unless they were escaping a planet that blew up because of the Reapers, then I don't quite understand why you'd take all those people with you on an exploratory mission.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, there's gaps in our understanding because of the ways they've rolled this game out. And it could be a real talking point with the whole refugee issue right now. I mean, The Expanse on Sci-Fi is dealing with the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. There's some really cutthroat mercenary decisions being made on that show because there's a war breaking out and they just had to pile people onto ships, figure out what they're going to do with them later.
Yeah. Now, are you going to buy Mass Effect 3?
I still don't know.
Or Andromeda?
I don't know. It
might be really a sale right item now. For me.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at right now, that I'll wait for a sale on the Origin store. I don't know if my PC will even run it.
Yeah, I know mine won't because I don't have a video card in my machine. Yeah. But yeah.
I mean, I have an all right one. I'm running a 970, but I don't want the problems. The DLC add-on on Mass Effect 3 was even janky. For me on the same system, so the frame rate just cacked just on that day one DLC part. And unfortunately, it was one of the better things. That was the one where you got the Protean character.
Yep.
Who, again, he was new, so I cared in that game.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. I'm still at war with myself. I have not seen anything that has convinced me that it is $80 worth of story right now.
Yep.
And there are so many really good old school isometric RPGs. I still haven't played Pillars of Eternity, and I really want to. So Tyranny is another one I want to give a try. These aren't space western, but they're RPGs, and I think that because they don't have to voice every fucking dialogue thing, I can't stand that.
Yeah.
Like, why do I pick an option and then hear myself in game say it?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't need that. You know, except in a few critical scenes. Mute protagonist, please. Like, speed up the playtime.
Yes.
If there's all that, just tell me exactly what I'm going to say. Don't paraphrase and have the character go, but that wasn't what that wasn't what I intended to say. That wasn't what I inferred from these options. I hated that.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I don't like the dialogue wheel. I know it's here to stay. I know I lost that fight, but if a game franchise is going to leave my preferences behind, I'll go back to the games that are still making the stuff I enjoy. That's the beauty of the free market. Nothing should be a nerd tax.
Nerd tax.
I have real issues with games that are must plays. Mm-hmm. You know, it becomes this. Overwatch was one of those ones that I think I would have enjoyed that game a lot more had I not felt forced to play it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, because it became this thing, and I was like, okay, I did it. Can I go home now? And that was the wrong attitude to go into it with. And I feel the same way. I felt the same way about Destiny. And I know people that absolutely love Destiny, but I played it when it first came out, and I was like, whatevs.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm done. I did my time. You know, a couple of Grand Theft Autos were like that to me too. And then, you know what, it's funny because I went back, I'm poking around Grand Theft Auto again for research purposes. And it's like, you know what, I don't hate it as much this time around. It's still not Saints Row to me, but I don't feel forced into playing it. If you want to know what game reviewers are so damn cranky, I mean, that's why.
Okay, let's, we can answer a few questions. So if you guys have a question, go ahead and ask it now. I'm not going to scroll all the way back through all this stuff. I do see some people wanting us to talk about Manveer Hair, or Air. I'm not sure how you pronounce his name.
See, I've interviewed Manveer. I don't know where he's gone since then.
Yeah, I think he is no longer with BioWare now.
That's the rumor.
Yeah.
He's a decent guy. Some of his public statements, he became the diversity guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He became the brown guy at BioWare. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. Because if you look at because he did this GDC talk that set the world on fire about being brave, about diversity, and everybody went, right? And then, is there a brown guy in Mass Effect? No, there's not. So obviously his mandate didn't rule the day at the company. Yeah. And that makes people bitter. And I know there's been accusations of racism because I think comments he said about white people.
Oh, he's well, pretty much any time you look at his timeline, he has something about, like, I'm not going to move to this one area of town because of all the white people. You know, just stuff like that.
And I guess I come at it from a different place because we're Canadian, and we don't have these, we don't have the same tensions.
Right.
So up here, there's a lot of jokes in Toronto made about white people from non-white people. And they're not intended to be racist. That they could be, like, taken out of context. I can see why they look bad. Mm-hmm. And I think there's been an element of that because we have relative harmony in big Canadian cities.
Yeah.
People have gotten used to speaking in a way that looks terrible in places where there's more tension. And I think there's some of that going on. I'm not condoning it. I'm just trying to provide some context.
Right. I think, most of the stuff he says is, you could certainly say, you could make the argument that it's racist, but I don't know if he's really a racist. You know, how much of it is just trolling.
To be completely honest,
a whole lot of it
is. To be completely honest, I think he has me blocked. I'm going to check right now.
I'm on a different block list from you. I'm not sure. We're both on block lists, of course.
No, he doesn't have me blocked. Okay.
Yeah, he doesn't have me blocked.
Yeah, he's very political, and like anybody who is political, that is, you have to be prepared for that to bite you. Yes. Right? It's no different than PewDiePie or JonTron or, Cliffy B back in the day got in trouble for saying certain things, and I don't like it. I don't like the lynch mobs that form looking to ist people. Yes. And, because it doesn't stick to this comment can upset people, or this comment is very hurtful. People start judging the soul of a person by their Twitter feed, and I don't like that. I don't know. That is not me saying that other people can't have the opinion that anybody is a racist or anybody is a sexist. I'm just very careful of that because of what happened to me personally. Yeah. I told a joke, which is actually quite true. I have a dog that uses the scratching post and plays with catnip toys. And so I was talking to the Feline Frequency parody account. Where I was basically, I have a dog who thinks he's a cat, he does these things. Can he be part of the, can he be part of felinism? Because they joke that it's the puppyarchy, right? Yes. And so Feline Frequency responds, all cats are cats. And I said, that's the answer I'm looking for. And I got called transphobic.
Oh, for crying out loud.
And it was Sarah Nyberg, and she then claimed that she was saying the comment was transphobic, that I was not transphobic. But no. I saw the Reddits, I saw the posts, I saw the outrage. It was, I am a racist transphobe. They did it to me again with a comment I made about the colonization of gaming, the taming the savages dynamic we've gone on right now, where we have these settlers coming in and they meet the locals in gaming, and these people are savages and we have to destroy their idols and we have to convert them to the right way of thinking for their own good. And I was called racist for that.
Yep. Well, I was called a white nationalist for crap. I forget what it was now.
And it's so funny because at the time when I was thinking about it, I was thinking about, what the English did to the Scots, for instance, or, the tensions between the Japanese and the Chinese because of the colonization the Japanese did. Colonization is not exclusively something that white people do to non-white people, and some people really need to broaden their horizons. Yeah. But because of what happened to me, I am really hesitant to, and if other people want to do it, that's their case. I never tell anybody how to think, but just me personally, I don't know. You can't know, and it's possible there are people out there who are racists. I've met otherwise good people that have issues with race. Now you can dislike that about a person, but also think, they're very good to their families. They're hard workers. They go out there and people are not perfect and people are not simple. And so I think we need more kindness in gaming. And so I try to be an example of that. And somebody said, why care about being judged by and they made an accusation against a person.
Yeah, that's always comes with her.
Yeah, but why care? Because it got me put on a fucking block list that shuts me off from huge portions of this industry. That's why I care. I think they would have removed me from that block list when they found out about it if it wasn't for that transgression. They don't like that I didn't join them with the pitchforks and everything like that, and just unfollow everyone from Gamergate. At the time, it was fuck you, you're not going to tell me who to follow, and I am deliberately following people I disagree with in an attempt to understand this issue.
Yes.
Follows are not agreement, and some of them I started to understand their perspective, if not share it. Other people I did sort of decide that, no, this isn't worth my time. It's polluting my timeline. But part of the reason I follow people on Twitter is I just can't keep people's handles straight, and it's easier to type it in when I can search it. I mean that, but yeah, I'm really hesitant. Like I said, I have talked to some of these people personally. There is a huge gulf between somebody not being a bad person and someone being a perfect person. And there's a lot of personalities in gaming who have to climb down from being a bullied nerd and start recognizing that you're a leader now. People look up to you, and you can't say the angry nerd shit you could say when you were 18. That's a big problem with this industry, is people don't recognize the power and the influence they hold. They still have this identity of, I have to counterpunch everything somebody says about me or to me because they're going to come get me. I had to climb down from that myself.
Yeah.
It wasn't that I had to change my opinions. I had to change the way I expressed my opinions because I had to get used to being somebody that somebody looked to as an example, as opposed to someone shouting to be heard in this mass of voices. And that's what a lot of this Grand Theft Auto is rape, maiming and dumping women is.
Yeah.
It's people because Ashley Judd, by our standards, she's a big famous actress. But around Hollywood, she's D-list.
Yeah.
She hasn't had a hit in a while. And so she is saying contentious things because, her Google search just went the minute she said that. The people are rewarded for this outrageous shit.
Yes. Yeah. One of the things on Twitter, when people say all this crap on Twitter, say something really dumb or they perform really bad or whatever, people don't unfollow them. So very rarely are there any consequences.
Unfollow them. They get all these follows to see what crazy thing they're going to say next so people can get all outraged at them, right? Yeah. We're rewarding this crap, right? And I know, I see people following me. And I know, based on what they have in their profiles, they're not following me because they agree.
Right.
And sometimes I admit I'll do the, you block them temporarily and unblock them so it automatically unfollow. I've done that in a few cases because I'm just like, I don't want to deal with this. Other people will mute so they can just shout into a void. But I have a nice little collection of fellow gamers right now. There's about 1,000 of us who are willing to have conversations about this stuff. And these are the people that I want to speak to and with and about and for. And so anybody who's going on about white people or black people or women or this or that, I don't have time for them.
Yeah.
I agree. And that's
basically I agree with the whole man of your hair thing. He can say that stuff all he wants. With BioWare, if he is still or whatever, when he was with BioWare, he's just one little piece in a huge cog. So
and like I said, clearly his mandate did not win the day.
Right. Yeah.
Right? It's still a family of 3 white people. You can change that from the default, but I don't think it's like Fallout where I could be completely wrong, but you know how in Fallout your dad was it Fallout 3 changes based on how you design your character.
Yeah, it's not like that in Andromeda.
Yeah.
If you're a black character, your dad's white. So
I don't understand the customization in this Mass Effect game. If you're telling me not only am I a hardwired character, but I have a brother and a father, or a sister and a father, you are taking away my creative agency.
Yeah.
I don't like this. Oh, we're going to start it like a movie, and then, we're going to be immersive by having the happy couple stand in front of the mirror, and, it's limiting how you're role-playing. Yeah. That is forcing somebody to be a straight person. And even though there's no actual kind of romances in Fallout, that doesn't stop somebody from playing the game through the lens of perhaps a gay character, right? Yeah. And it takes that away. And I think if you're going to do that, just be like The Witcher, where Geralt is Geralt, and no, you don't get to customize him. Yeah. You can pick what armor he wears, and you can pick what spells he can do, and how you level him up, how you develop the character. But he is him, and it's an action RPG. That's valid, but I find that more honest than constructing this whole thing. And, oh no, you can make your character anything you want, but you're starting as a white person.
Yes.
That's othering. Screw that. Geralt's white. We accept that. The Witcher is a very white world, except for the Zeracanians. That is more artistically honest to me than this, you can be anything you want as long as you slide away from what we're going to tell you is the starting point.
Yes.
They mean so well, but they just do not have the fundamentals of the... I'll go so far as to say the ideology they're trying to promote. And it's really sad because it's not for bad intentions, but it's so frustrating, And
I think the North American studios right now are pretty much getting their asses kicked by the Eastern European CD Projekt and...
Valve's doing really well.
Yeah,
Valve's doing well with Steam. Blizzard's doing incredibly well.
I mean, creatively, they're with the games, with the Western RPGs. If you look at The Witcher, The Witcher looks like it was made. Well, The Witcher 3 was made 2 years ago now, or a year, whatever. Yeah. And here, Mass Effect Andromeda looks like it was made in 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. People have compared it to the original Mass Effect. They have two of the people talking, and they look almost exactly the same.
I think that's comparing apples and oranges, though, because in Japan, they're not trying to make their people look like, realistic people. They've got that anime aesthetic.
Well, yeah, but they do have Final Fantasy.
They still very anime waifu looking
but
characters.
Still more realistic than Andromeda.
Well, they don't hit the uncanny valley the same. They deliberately hit the uncanny valley, and so they're controlling where it lands. So we still recognize. Well, it's more welcoming. Yeah. It's okay. This is something that is still familiar. As opposed to, they're making them look more like toys than robots. So when it hits that uncanny valley, and I mean, okay, my bias is clear. I've got, a Moogle in the background. But, they decided how they were going to fail in that regard better.
Yes.
And I think that because they consciously decided, okay, we're not going to put our resources into making realistic-looking people, we have our anime starting point, which is, tiny nose, giant eyes, pointy chin.
Spiky hair.
Yeah, spiky hair, skin that is really not found in nature, but it's sort of yellowish white. It's halfway between kind of an Asian skin tone and a white person skin tone. But... I've been to talks that talked about the fact that anime is essentially Asian people doing whiteface. It's right out there as a theory, but it really made me think. And it's like, yeah, they are sort of taking Western conventions and chewing them up, putting them in the anime sausage maker and puking it back out as something that we, consume like we're starving.
Yeah.
And good for them.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah, well, that's a whole other topic. We'll have to do this again some other time, because I could talk to you for hours and hours, but we're already hour and a half. Because
people are just starting with the questions. The chat is just getting going.
Oh, they're just now getting.
Yeah, they're starting to ask questions and things like that. It's like, oh, I wish these were sooner.
Well, if there are any questions you'd like to answer, feel free. But I don't want to keep you're going to be doing another stream here in what, about an hour?
Oh, 2.5 hours. I got time.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they just added me, I believe, on Skype. That was that whoop whoop you just heard.
Oh, I didn't hear.
Somebody's asking me about Nier. So many people have talked to me about this game, Nier, that I'm gonna have to play it. Like, I understand it's like Dark Souls, but it's also kind of like a Western RPG, and I'm like, wow, you're really speaking my language here.
It does look interesting.
Pretty compelled. The only thing I'm concerned about is Bloodborne. Oh, it damn near killed me with that stupid spider fight where you had to strafe constantly left. Like I felt like I was playing like this. You had to keep going, or else those little spider thing and the ice things, and it was just a really boring boss fight, and I didn't like it. And then after that, it was that guy on the roof who were like, boom, 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 you're dead. And it took you like 10 times to figure out how to beat the guy. And my arms and hands and wrists were so sore after that. I think I might need physiotherapy after another game like that. So if somebody can let me know that if there isn't heavy strafing, because I can't even do it on keyboard and mouse. I've got repetitive stress injuries in my hands, so that's my only concern. But it looks amazing. Somebody else asked me who's worse, social justice or the alt-right. To me, they're the same people with a different coat of paint. Like, there's no... because they push society between the two extremes, right? Like, they're the flippers on the pinball machine, and we're this, silver ball just minding our own business. Where the reason it's called a culture war is that there's a lot of innocent people trapped between these two factions, and most of us just don't care. They can't stand any of them. It's like the opposite of Godzilla versus Mothra. You don't really care who wins that fight because it's going to be awesome. It's the opposite. We don't care who wins this fight because everybody is so annoying.
Yes.
That we just want them to go away. I've had really bad experiences with both extremes, and it's like, which would you prefer, a kick in the nuts or a punch in the face kind of thing?
Punch in the face.
Yeah, and then the question is, which is which? I would prefer neither. Both really hurt, and both have generated absolutely fallacious online slander of me that I can't get rid of. Those articles are out there forever. There's nothing you can do. You only hope that people don't judge you by this nonsense. But the tactics, the words they use may be different, but the tactics they use are essentially the same. With little,
they adopt each other's tactics, like
they are sustaining each other. Right?
Yeah.
Because without what did feminists do stupid this week, the alt-right couldn't feed on it. Right? Like, without that poor woman who became the face of, the lady with like the bright red hair and who's like, or whatever.
Big Red.
Yeah.
They call her
without
Big Red,
her, they wouldn't have that rallying cry.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And she's not alone. There are other people that I used to like personally, and then they went off the deep end, and I was like, there was no need for you to do that. When it comes right down to it, these are all a lot of deeply unhappy people looking to blame the world just because life isn't fair sometimes. And we can work together to try to level the scales to make it more fair. But things are not going to go your way 100% of the time. Stuff sucks. The economy's really bad. I mean, I think that they say it's recovering, but the recovery hasn't hit the average person yet. That tends to be the thing that recovers last. So I think that's part of what's driving it, is people don't have the financial security. They don't have the, do these things and you will get a good job and you'll have a decent standard of life and you won't have to worry quite so much. Mm-hmm. People were promised that and didn't get that, and now they're looking for someone to blame. And, radical feminists blame the patriarchy, the alt-right blames political correctness and immigration, but really they're just making a new design for the same boogeyman. It's a fucking palette swap.
Yeah,
it's the same motivations, and I don't want to be a part of any of it.
Yeah, there was a picture I saw on Twitter a few weeks ago where they had like a timeline kind of a thing where they had on the right they had 5%, on the left they have 5%, and then in the middle they have the 90% of people are tired of these 10%.
And I mean, your own analysis shows how this culture war is polluting news.
Yeah.
This one commenter said this, and it stuck with me to this day, the fact that you're not dealing with different interpretations of facts anymore. You are dealing with completely different sets of facts. Mm-hmm. And it's this circle jerk right now where these, the White House works with these right-wing news sites to create these headlines, and then Trump sees something on Fox and treats it like it's true. And this is the power of media on people who revere media. You'll never meet somebody more impressed by the power of media than someone in it. And I'm unusual in this way because I've been doing this a long time, and the things you think are going to cause massive impacts are not actually the things that do. The highbrow stuff doesn't move the needle. If you really want to see what people care about, you look at the junk culture of a society. And that's what Japan does really damn well with their media. And that's why they're kicking our asses in a lot of ways. And I know that's a very long topic for another time, but these things that people think matter a great deal don't.
Yeah.
The things that they dismiss, like gaming, and instead of realizing that you could have prevented a lot of the nonsense that's going on in U.S. politics right now, have you just listened to gamers during Gamergate? They created this causative nonsense that Gamergate somehow fueled. It's ridiculous.
Yes. I especially I especially loved Brianna Wu's her timeline where she started her run for Congress by saying she fought the alt-right and won. And of course now she's saying, well, Gamergate is hacking my computer and getting Russia to hack my computer. Or she's saying,
you're kidding me, right?
No, she's blaming Gamergate for being the canary in the coal mine, which is a common thing.
That's self-serving, though, right? It's
oh yeah.
I mean, I'm sure she's not a bad person. I know people who think she is just lovely, but there is a self-serving thing. Unfortunately, a lot of women in gaming, their profile is tied to a harassment narrative. Mm-hmm. And for better or for worse, jury's still out of whether this was the right call. I refused to do that.
Well, I don't know if you read my article about how much money Brianna Wu, the victims of Gamergate, have made.
Well, this is what makes it so hard, right? Like, I look at the money they're bringing in, and I look at the money I'm bringing in, and it's like, holy shit, I'm doing this wrong. At the same time, though, I feel like I'm actually making an impact. Like, I feel like I'm actually bridge building.
Yes.
And anybody knows, I always go back to RTSs, but it's very profitable to go and pillage, like build a lot of military units and go and pillage different villages and all that stuff. You can amass a lot of gold quickly, but if you're not watching your culture, watching your, your science output, somebody can beat you through other means.
Yes. In
those games. And the way I play, I like my science victories. I like my culture victories in Civilization. But early to mid game, it is so frustrating. Yes. I'm playing Civ 6. I got it as a birthday party, and I'm like, I hate this game. And then at the end, I'm like, I'm a badass, I play as Japan and adopt Judaism and just convert the whole world. So there's Stars of David on every, and if people judged me by that in-game behavior, the way people do with like killing prostitutes in Grand Theft Auto, people would think I'm this giant Jewish nationalist that want to convert the whole world. Yeah. And it's absolutely not the case. I do it because it's never going to happen. My husband, when he says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm converting the world to Judaism." He's like, "What?" I said, "Come see." And he came over. It's like, "Why is Tokyo Jewish?" I said, "Because I'm playing as Japan." It was a hilarious conversation. But he walked away thinking that was really cool.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. He's not a gamer. He plays games with me, and we sort of bond through comic books and like sci-fi and fantasy. And he's getting more into games, but he just doesn't have the... There is a personality type. There is something very distinct about people who choose interactive entertainment. First and foremost, I try to read a lot of comic books now, and I'm bored. A comic book has to be astoundingly amazing, like something incredibly new, for me to be compelled by it now, because I'm always thinking how I would have made different choices, because in a video game you can.
Yep.
Right? It really, talk about entitled, no, we just know what's better.
Yeah.
I
agree.
And this is the thing, we need to be having these dialogues, but who gets booked on these news services? The people who will perpetuate the pre-existing mainstream media myth that gaming is dangerous. And unfortunately, there's a lot of very pro-social elements of gaming that people are missing out on because they're so afraid of it.
Yes.
And that really bothers me, because there's a lot of kids, especially with this education issue with boys. Holy shit, video games could solve that problem.
Yeah.
We have a friend of the family, their little boy wasn't taking to reading, so all they did was turn on the captions in the video games he liked and the cartoons he liked, and so they turn off the sound. And he'd have to read because it's relevant to him. You want to play a game, you read the words, you follow the instructions on the screen. He took to reading he loves to read now, because he realized it opened the door to all these things. You mean I can be Batman if I learn to read? Sold! You can't force someone's brain to find something relevant. Different people's brains finds different things relevant. And the whole goal of education is to offer enough choice that a kid will click with something. That's what a good teacher does.
Yes. A good teacher lets them play video games.
Well, we did. I did in school. I mean, my 6th grade teacher, who was this carved from stone, ex-military guy, like, this was back in the days where teachers could still make you do push-ups if you were bad. It was low-level corporal punishment for me. But as a creative writing assignment, he let us, me and these 2 guys, play Dungeons and Dragons in class and write about our adventures.
Oh, nice.
And we thought this was the greatest thing in the world. And you could tell he was sort of like the teacher. He didn't get it at all. But at the end of the week, everybody else would submit their 1 page, their 250 words of writing. We'd be, thump, it would be an inch thick, because we were like, oh my god, the will-o'-the-wisp, we fight, and then the sorceress goes down, and we, and I remember saying to them, it's like, well, how do you play? Because I like the dice, and they were like, this, you could be a wizard. I'm like, can I be a sorceress? And they looked at each other. This was before that was its own class, right? We're going back to 2nd ADD. But they're like, okay, because what core rules? And so we just used a wizard kit, called it a sorceress, and everything was happy. Yep. And I remember the first time I only had 8 hit points, and I died in the first fight, and the guys were like, okay, do over, and we did it again, and I eventually learned the game. You know, that is gaming to me.
Yes.
That is what it is. It's not this knocking heads, you know, dog eat dog, roar everything. It's I like this. You look like you might like this. Come play. And the output. And I honestly think if you want to teach somebody how to write, if you want to teach somebody to tell a story, pen and paper tabletop RPGs are still the best teaching tool out there, because if you can entertain 3 or 4 other people for 6 hours in a night, you can tell a story.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
And,
although, you know, of course you are making Satanists by doing that, but
it's funny. I know some Satanists. They're fine people. No, it's true. I've talked to guys that got like Baphomet brands on their arm. They are legit Satanists, but they're cool guys and they're awesome with computers. I am. You may notice about me, Brad. I am just like, everyone is welcome.
Yeah,
I am a Jewish ginger kid. We are 1% of the world's population. We don't even have enough people to form protests. I have to be very much welcome, everyone. You know, I am not scary. Just let me into your village. I promise I won't bring plague. You know, I think my perspective is definitely the fact that I grew up in a neighborhood where white people were the minority, but I definitely saw how I was treated differently by bus drivers and local shopkeepers and everything like that than my black friends. And that stuck with me, that when we were in just groups of us, I was the minority opinion, but then you went out into the world and you saw that it was different. Now that's not to say that that's the only clash of that kind, because I see it again and again and again in gamers. I feel the exact same responsibility to go out there and talk to people in television and talk to people in radio and talk to people in the greater world, because I am not the stereotype of a gamer.
Yeah.
I am empowered to do that. I will get a hearing that somebody else won't. And as much as I find that unfair, I'm going to seize that opportunity on behalf of the group. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that, and I think that gives us a good place to cut off.
Yeah, because somebody's doing something outside now. There's this weird grinding noise. I'm gonna have to go investigate.
All right. Well,
let's do this again. Let's pick another topic. And maybe I'll get you on my channel, and we'll go back and forth.
Absolutely.
But yeah, because the chat's like rocking now, and I'm like, you guys needed to do this like half. I'll just try to be more interesting earlier on next time.
Yeah, it's hard to keep, on topic and keep short points. But we're having a conversation here, so conversations
gamers.
aren't Yeah.
We're gamers, Brad. We don't do tangents. We do branching narratives.
Yeah, hell, we could talk about the Fade in Dragon Age for an hour,
We sure could. We sure
demons
could.
And God.
Well, the whole concept of demons and the way they're constructed in game. And now they're not all demons. Like, some of the greatest things they did with that are in the books, not in the games. And I'm like, why didn't you just animate this? Like, do something. I don't like those expanded IP elements, because when they're good, like, most people don't realize Cole didn't start in Inquisition. He debuted in a novel that and then Wynn's story finished in a novel too, and that stuff drives me crazy, because these books are not the easiest things in the world to get either.
Oh, yeah.
There's a couple of Mass Effect books, like the one that is Saren's prequel story. You can't get that anywhere. You have to chase that down, and it's the best one. It sucks.
The only one I've read is the Liara. There was a book explaining what happened between Mass Effect and Mass Effect 2 with her.
With the Shadow Broker.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was kind of needed because between 1 and 2, it was like a whole different Liara. You know?
Yeah, there's another one that deals with the red sand trade. Mm-hmm. It was not very good. I kept thinking that the little girl in it was going to turn out to be Jack, and it wasn't. And it was so just like the book was just. And then there's the only thing it did for me was there's one like diary entry in Mass Effect 3 that doesn't make any sense unless you've read that book.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't stand that crap. I think the games should stand on their own. Yeah. And somebody in the chat's going, what? I never learned how Wynn's story turned out. It's in, I want to say it's the novel Asunder. And the Dragon Age novels are amazing. There's one that actually details the story of Merrick and Loghain. Oh, and it's tragic. It tugs at your feels. It's really well done. They're written by David Gator,
who's no longer at BioWare.
Who's no longer at BioWare. But I'm really excited to see what he does at Beamdog.
Yeah. Well, they did the Siege of Dragonspear. Did you play that?
Yes.
I thought was a bit lacking.
They're learning.
Yeah.
They're learning.
Yes.
It has potential. A friend of mine actually worked on that, and it's funny because my favorite character was the one he wrote, my buddy Andrew out in Edmonton, and I'm like, this is so good. And then
character?
McClin, the goblin who always talks like this.
Oh yeah.
And then because she's very dry and kind of sarcastic, and then when I found out who wrote her, I'm like, you know what? I should have known that. It's totally his voice, but I thought she was a playable monster. Awesome. I thought she was really cool. But yeah, there were moments. The
writing I thought was very uneven.
Yes, it was, and there was an inability to shut out the outside world.
Yeah.
That, to give Minsk a line that invoked the whole Gamergate controversy. Another thing that it really upset me, and I needed some time to figure out why, and I eventually realized that no, butt kicking for goodness is safety. That character should never be a part of that. He needs to stay pure and childlike. And it's really ironic I'm talking about this when the chat is talking about men's penises. That's not the word they're using, but I'm not going to give them the satisfaction of saying the word they're using. There's just certain things that it shouldn't go there, And there's a big difference between not being offended by something and recognizing that it really doesn't belong in a particular thing. And I think that there was some of that. I have this pet peeve about gaming, which is stand there and be trans. We're going to put a character that's transgendered in the game, but we really don't know what to do with transgendered characters yet and how to make that relevant. So they're just going to stand there and be a quest giver. It happened in Inquisition. It happened in Syndicate, and it happened in Dragonspear got walloped for it. And then Watch Dogs 2 comes out there and creates this amazing character. She's not just black. She's not just a trans woman. She's a black trans woman municipal politician, and it was seamless. It made sense because there was an actual reason that was relevant to the plot. And then you get people saying, well, it shouldn't have to be relevant to the plot. We shouldn't have to explain it. That's cisnormative. And I'm like, no. You don't understand. A good storyteller, a good character creator, everything has to be relevant. Nothing is taken for granted. Otherwise, you're being lazy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And so I love that. I really liked Krem in Inquisition. I would have been really interested in making him a romance option.
Yeah. Because
he was just a much more likable character than the choices we had.
Choices.
I mean, what were the choices? You got boxed in
Yes.
to the two characters that matched the preferences you wanted to play.
Yeah.
And this is a design philosophy thing where I like the original Dragon Age, where, you know, Zevran and Liliana were bisexual.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, for some odd reason, there was less choice on paper in Origins, but it felt like more choice.
Yeah.
You know? Because you had 3 options for every orientation. I played through as a Qunari the first time in Inquisition, so I was stuck with, you know, the Iron Bull, who's a lying pervert, and then Blackwall, who's also a liar.
Yeah. Yeah, the companions in Inquisition just weren't very strong. I mean, I didn't even really like most of them.
I thought Cassandra was a good character, and Solus was great for what he did.
Yeah.
He is the straight up trope mystery elf with girl legs trope. But the fact that they had that giant, hey stupid, spoiler, literally hanging around his neck the whole game, I thought, tip my hat, nice touch. I really did feel like the first half of Inquisition was supposed to originally be in Dragon Age 2.
Yeah.
Because why are we still finishing Hawk's story in this game?
Yeah.
Like, that I felt, and that wasn't their fault. They got squashed by EA saying, we need this game out. Sucks.
Yeah.
Too bad. That's something I can't blame a developer for. Like, Dragon Age 2, they only had like 2.5 years.
Yeah. Yep.
They made a pretty decent game.
Yes.
For that time.
Yeah, I was just saying that too.
Yeah, it was contained, but when you find out what they had to work with, that is an achievement. They did the best they could with the time they have.
Yeah, the reuse of the areas sucked a bit, of course, but they had to do it, and they took a chance too with that small. Oh, here we are going on about gaming again, but they took a chance of having the whole thing just be about mostly the one town, you know, and the guy in the town and his life
and
over 10 years.
Have done that. Other games have done that, and it's worked. People were just expecting that big scope of Origin and got a different game, but Andromeda doesn't have that excuse.
Right. Yeah.
They had 5 years, which is average development time. There is no reason.
And they probably had unlimited resources pretty much. I mean,
nobody has unlimited resources. Well, I mean, the problem, the thing about Mass Effect games
is...
But they do a lot of story. And so there's a lot of voices, and there's a lot of narrative branches that can break, and then there's these domino effects where, you know, if this happens, and okay, so what if you kill this character? Well, they're on an end, so we can't make this character killable, so we have to find a reason to not kill this character. You know, they bite off a lot.
Yeah,
but at this point, there should be enough institutional memory within that company that they know the basics of making a solid Western RPG.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like they do, because they're going to have to probably, for the next Mass Effect now, to avoid all, you know, they're going to have to do some work to repair this, I think.
See, if I were them at this point, I'd take a bit of a break and make little episodic Telltale-style games that just get back to the good story.
Yeah, I always said that BioWare should never have abandoned the Infinity engine. Is it the Infinity? Whatever it was.
The isometric.
Yeah, the isometric. You know, they had something going with that, and of course now you see there's a market for those games, and those games are kind of coming back with other studios.
Large enough. The market is not large enough to appease EA, though. I think that, you know, you could tell this great little story about an Asari character, or could you imagine just a little Telltale type game? It's only like a half hour long, but you played as Sandal, and every dialogue option was enchantment. And so it's just, what do you select? You know, enchantment, and it was just different inflections.
Yeah.
That would be an interesting little experiment. I would play that because I loved Sandal.
Yeah.
in the first 2 games, and I like the crazy dwarf girl in Inquisition, but she wasn't Sandal.
Oh yeah.
And I want my Sandal back in the next Dragon Age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
if there's no Elcor in Mass Effect Andromeda, I'm just done.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm waiting to find out. Is there meaningful Elcor? Yeah. If they're not there, screw it. And it's possible they're not. Yeah. Right? Because I know that the Elcor, hearing from people, are a particular animation challenge.
Yes.
Because they're so big and elephant-like.
Yeah. Well, they just, for the most part, stood there, you know?
Because they didn't know how to animate them until, like, third game. You see them walking in the background of the third game. It's like, the Elcor is moving. Yeah. But they're so big that it was, but I loved those characters. Yes. I mean, yeah, but anyway, we're going to have to do this again.
Yes, we will. We will. Yes. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for, this was the first time we have spoken to each other, even though we've been, exchanging messages for about 2 years now, I think. So we will definitely do this again, and thank you everyone for joining us. We really appreciate it, and I guess we will see you next time.
Yes. Bye guys. Thanks for watching.
Bye everyone. Okay, I'm gonna hit the stop streaming button. Good way to end it, just like we began it. Okay. Yeah.